Hey guys, just want to start a set of tier lists for Mythic heroes. I think there's a lot of really bad tier lists out there, so I just want to share a little about my experience playing this wonderful game. I'm a VIP 12 now, which means I'm a pretty heavy spender here. Uh, I did win Recruits of Olympus, and I also recently won Void Portal, and I've been competing against VIP 13s, 15s, which means they've spent a lot more than me. If you look at my Novas too, so I've been 11. So I've basically been punching up against a bunch of whales, and so I've had to kind of more efficiently do my resources and plan out more to battle back against them. I'm in a pretty good guild here, like a top 10 guild, I would say. And I also trialed in another set of top guilds and basically, read all of their guides, followed the posts of all the best players. And then right now we have this Valhalla event going on. And you see a bunch of whales at the top here. And I am in the top 10. And I'm in server 132, so I am the highest person here on my server group. I believe on the leaderboards too. I'm quite high up here, despite most of these people spending a lot more than me. And the reason I say all this is because, like I said, I think there's a lot of bad tier lists out there. I want to help the community, and I think if you want to make helpful content, you do have to be pretty elitist about it. Like, why should you listen to anyone just spewing hot garbage when you're putting a bunch of time into this game? So I can't promise you that this tier list is perfect, or my opinions are always on point, but I can promise you that these tier lists will be a lot better than the other dookie out there, other than a few exceptions, which I'll share in the description. So if you're interested in looking at some of the resources that I found useful, I'll put that in the description as well. So that was kind of a long prelude. I do apologize for that, but I'm just going to get right to it now. And I think I have all of the heroes, except for Lilith, collected in the game. So yeah, let's start with Luminarchs, and from this point on, I'm going to try and go a bit faster here. So Zeus is the starting hero. So let's start with Big Daddy Zeus. And anytime you're evaluating a hero, you want to look at their skills at max level. By the way, another side note, I don't believe in like early game and mid game tier lists. I think tier lists are just all about how well the hero performs at the end game, and the reason for that is if you are spending a lot on your account, then you want the best, and if you aren't spending and you're free to play, or not spending very much, the timeline to get to like having a powerful lineup is so long that you might as well just aim for the best. Like running a very good early game hero like is a Nami or GM, who are pretty bad like at the end. It doesn't give you anywhere near enough power at the start. You might as well stick to the good heroes. But I'm gonna kind of quickly try and like point out different things. I would put Zeus in like the B tier. He might kind of drop later. I think he's like a really good example of a B tier hero. I think overall, I've never tried like turbo building him to where he's like the strongest by far, but I find it very difficult to imagine his ult killing everything, which it kind of needs to do because he's slow to build his ult up. But this is the ability that brings him to the B tier. He does true damage like as a chunk of the enemy's health, which I think is pretty good. And then in PvP, he has a stun, which is also pretty good. So he's basically like a one-trick pony, basically just trying to hit his ult as fast as possible and do damage. But I find it doesn't really do enough damage. And then he has a true health damage, which is good for raid bosses He's pretty good in like the magic based raid bosses, and he's pretty decent overall. Also, one thing about Luminarch, this light faction, is they're made much stronger by the fact that Luminarchs are really strong in general, so you can run like a lot of mono kind of Luminarch comps. I'm going to do an easy one here too to speed this up. I'm going to put Dionysus. Sorry if I butchered these pronunciations. I'm going to put him in S tier. He's very important for certain raid bosses, and he'll maximize your damage. He's basically just always worth building. And then I'm also going to put, whoops, that's kind of funny. Looks like I've confused myself. I'm going to put Odin and Western Queen into S tier as well. These two form like the backbone of a lot of kind of the top comps in the game. And so Odin, his main ability here is he sends ravens to guard a frontline ally. And so, I mean, he has a lot of other abilities, but actually all of his abilities are really strong, like removing the dodge. But I'm just going to focus on the main things. So he sends ravens to a frontliner, and as you know, you can repeat battles until the RNG goes your way. But he has these ravens that buff attack speed, and so a lot of times, the classic comp is Odin and then Archimedes in the front. I'm using Odin in the front, but basically the two of these, and then Western Queen has this bluebird that goes to the strongest ally, who will be in the front line, and then her ult buffs even stronger. I'm not gonna go too in depth because then this video is gonna get too long. I think that basically covers like the core of what makes them good. So basically, normally you're putting Western Queen, Odin, and then your carry in the front, sometimes with Odin, and then basically they're just gonna funnel all of their boosts and buffs into Archimedes or Nobunaga or Apollo. But I've even seen comps where they're funneling like Typhon in the front. Basically any the classic comp here is basically these three, Hela plus Freya, and then you can basically put like any fighter in the front, and it'll put in pretty good work. So yeah, those two are just like pretty much easy S tier, I mean. And also Apollo. So Apollo's kind of a tougher one for me to rank here because on my come up, so you guys have kind of missed the window to pull a bunch of Apollos, but when I was building my account, all the whales, so Apollo and Nobunaga were the heroes that were announced when I was playing. So I've basically only seen him, Apollo, as like super over leveled as the top carry, plus 20, 40 levels, and always rainbow. He's really strong. He's really strong. I don't know if he's quite S at in-game, but I don't know a lot of in-game players who are playing him either. But he would be S tier from my experience, but I have a feeling he would end up more in the A to S range. Some of these are kind of harder, but I think these top three are basically no-brainers. I'm actually going to put Dio at the way in because he's very specialized. And by Dio and S tier, I don't mean like put build him up and enhance him to like plus 30. He needs minimal investment, but he's always worth investing. And I didn't do a really good job of explaining the criteria for my tier list, but I believe this is a competitive game and you don't get that many prizes for PvE, so I'm mostly focused on all of the modes that give you extra rewards or give you medals. I think medals is kind of like the most important thing for flexing on fools. So I'm it's mostly gonna be PvP focused, but a lot of the best heroes in the game are best across multiple modes. So there's a few exceptions. Yeah. And then so Luminarch, like I said, it's very strong. I would put Gabriel in the A tier. Gabriel is very good in the Archimedes Odin comp. A lot of the in-game, uh, a lot of the in-game PvP comps that use Archimedes and Odin, and there's a lot of them, use Gabriel. I would assume theory craft wise she also goes with Apollo. She basically like lowers the opponent's damage, and yeah, that's basically what she does. And then I would also put Susan, suddenly Susan. I keep clicking this side when I'm supposed to click this side. I would put him in the A tier as well. I think Susan, Gabriel, Apollo are all like borderline S tier. They're kind of straddling. And then let's go ahead and add Artemis and Athena in here as well. So again, Luminarchs are very strong. So Susanoo is an assassin. He just basically hops onto the other side and tries to neutralize the, whatever high priority target you have. Unfortunately, it doesn't work as well on defense because your opponent can just avoid him or trap him. There's certain heroes that trap him pretty well, like tanks. And then, yeah, so he's pretty simple. You just kind of put him in across from, something you want to kill, something that might not be protected. Artemis is also pretty simple. She just does a lot of burst damage. She's pretty good in raids as well. Once you get her final level of her weapon, any hero basically that does max health damage is going to be pretty good in like those kinds of modes. But yeah, she does a lot of front-loaded burst damage basically. So when you use Artemis, you're using her in like PvP settings, and you're trying to stack onto something, maybe even like an Apollo, and just kill it as soon as possible. So she's very bursty, and that's what she's good for. And then Athena is basically just a tank. You don't have to go that much in detail past that. If you need a Luminarch tank, she's pretty good. And there is a pretty good infographic in the Discord, like summarizing the 4 best tanks. So I'll go ahead and add that to the description as well. I think it's pretty useful. I think that covers. Okay, and then Thor is just gonna be like the D tier. I actually think Thor's kit is pretty interesting, and some pretty good players have agreed with me. Like if you have an alt or something, maybe you want to build him up as a meme. But like he has once you build like his full weapons up and stuff, I actually think he could be pretty decent, but it'll take a long time to get to that point. And I actually built an alt account trying to run Thor, but he like it's pretty annoying actually. He has this ability where he spins, but he'll spin even when there's nothing in range. This dumb spin right here. He might be like worth exploring, but I really doubt it. I think you have to put your resources into other places there. And then a quick kind of overview of the URs. So I'm trying to think if I should put the URs into another section. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and do that. I think we want to stick to mono right now because the URs do kind of blend in between, and they are pretty specialized. So this is kind of how I would do the tier list. It's actually kind of interesting that Luminarch just has a bunch of broken units that go into the higher tiers, and then Thor by himself. I'm pretty happy with this tier list overall. I think this is a pretty accurate summary of Luminarchs. So yeah, thanks for watching. Would appreciate any comments or discussion. Happy to talk about this with you.